Hey guys, how's it going? This is BillyEatWorld, and today we're going to weigh into the console versus PC debate. Now, something that you hear all the time in the gaming community is how PCs are superior to consoles. Sometimes it even gets to the point where people start to become arrogant and offensive defending their chosen platform, and at the end of the day, it's just ridiculous to watch. If you're on Twitter, you've no doubt seen the hashtag PC Master Race, which I think initially started out as a joke, but is now starting to piss off the console community because so many PC guys take it to heart. I thought it would be a good idea to give you guys my honest opinions on this topic because recently I decided to build myself a gaming PC, even though I already owned a PS4. I asked you guys whether you thought it would be worth it a few weeks ago, and I had a huge response to that video giving me lots of different opinions for and against. I'd already decided I wouldn't be replacing my PS4, so I had to work out whether it was going to be worth owning two platforms, and that's where it started to get complicated. There's a whole bunch of different factors you need to consider when choosing a platform, and you can bet that it's going to be pretty hard to get a clear and unbiased opinion with so many console and PC fanboys out there. What I want to do with this video is walk you through the reasoning behind my decision to get a PC, and share with you some of the first impressions I've had with using the system. Hopefully this will give anyone thinking of building a new PC a better understanding of the process, and hopefully I'll be doing my bit in eliminating the elitism once and for all. Just a spoiler though, I'm not going to give you a yes or no answer at the end, and I'm not going to say that one particular platform is better. That's for you guys to decide on your own because everyone has their own reasons for choosing a particular platform. Also, I just want to point out that while I work with computers every day of my life, many of you guys watching quite possibly might know a lot more about PC gaming than I do. I don't claim to be an expert, so I'm going to try and keep my points pretty general and at a consumer level. So I'd love it if you guys could leave your opinions for everyone else to see in the comment section below. But anyway, in part 1 we're going to tackle this topic head on with a comparison of price and performance, and in part 2 we're going to take a look at games and usability. So the most important thing that everyone considers when buying a new system is the price. Now, a lot of people will tell you that building a gaming PC is expensive, and on the other hand, a lot of people will say that you can build a gaming PC for about the same price as a console and still get a better experience. Both of these statements are true to some extent, but I don't think it's that simple. The more money you spend, the more difference you'll see, and you'll soon figure out that nearly every extra dollar that you spend on a PC ends up being $2 by the time you're done. But anyway, the system I eventually settled on after quite a few revisions is based around an i5-4690 with a Gigabyte GTX 770. It ended up being probably a third more expensive than I'd originally intended, but fortunately I had the money to spare, so this wasn't a huge deal. Now, as well as the CPU and graphics card, you've also got to get yourself a case, power supply, motherboard, memory, fans, hard drives and a DVD drive. And in Australia, by the time you've bought everything, my build would set you back around $1,300 or about 2.5 times the price of a PS4. This isn't by any means a beast PC either. It's possible to go cheaper, and it's also very easy to go more expensive than this too. Now unfortunately, the PC itself usually isn't the only thing that you need to buy. To unlock a gaming PC's full potential, you're also going to need to get a copy of Windows, a good monitor, and probably also a decent mouse and keyboard. I fortunately already had a copy of Windows and a decent 120Hz monitor, so I got away without buying those, but if you don't own a good monitor, you're going to need to get one of these to really appreciate the graphical advantage of a PC. So by the time you've factored in these extra costs, you're up for the cost of yet another PS4. So even a cheap PC build can be a pretty expensive prospect if you don't already have these things lying around. So what do you get for this price? Well, you can play just about any game at a decent frame rate on ultra video settings, plus you get a computer that can do a whole bunch of other stuff other than gaming. The cheaper you go, the less performance you're going to get, and the closer you're going to get to console graphics, but at least you've still got a computer to use for other purposes. A console, on the other hand, can only really be used for games and media playback, but at the end of the day you might only want it for this, and it's probably also going to be a lot cheaper. If you're like me and you already own some kind of decent computer already, it might be hard to justify buying another one just to use for gaming, so maybe a console would be a better option for you in this case. I think we can safely say though that if you do decide to build a high performance gaming rig, then you're going to have to spend some serious cash, definitely more than the cost of a console, that's for sure. So that just about wraps up the topic of price, but just before we move on to the next comparison though, I should point out that in general PC games are cheaper than console games, so this will offset the initial cost of the rig. As we're going to talk about games in part 2 of this video though, I might skip over this point now and come back to it later. Which moves us on to our next topic, which is performance. Now performance, like I mentioned earlier, is one of the main reasons most people build a gaming PC in the first place. But what does better performance actually mean, and is it something worth paying a premium for? This was a big question that I had prior to building my PC, and unfortunately this is one question that many PC guys are reluctant to give an unbiased opinion on. Now, as you guys know, I mainly play BF4, so the question I was asking myself was, are the graphics going to be good enough to justify the price I've paid for my rig? Well, on the PS3 for example, BF4 runs at 30 FPS, has smaller maps and a smaller player count, and compared to this, the PS4 and PC versions both are much better by comparison. When you compare the PC to the PS4 though, the difference isn't so apparent because the PS4 version is basically the same game and runs at 60 FPS. Clearly the graphics are a bit sharper on the PC and the frame rate on paper is a lot better too, but to be honest, short of a side-by-side comparison, it's kind of hard to tell and not enough to really take away from the experience. I'm sure there is a difference though, and I did test it today with a few different monitors, but I just don't think it really affects my gaming experience that much. I mean, on the PC I'm getting 60 to 80 FPS on ultra settings and over 90 FPS on high settings, so it's definitely outperforming the PS4, I just don't think it really matters that much. Either way, the point I'm trying to make though is that the current gen consoles look pretty good, but the one thing I will give the PC though is that if your GPU is good enough, you're not likely to drop under 60 FPS, which isn't always the case for the PS4. Just bear in mind though that this is only one game. There's plenty of other games out there where I'm sure the PC would vastly outclass the consoles, but for the games coming out right now, I don't think there's ever been a time where the console was as close to the PC. There's obviously going to be exceptions, and in the future the PC will probably eventually start to widen the gap between the current gen consoles, but by the same token, developers have proven time and time again with games like The Last of Us how much horsepower they can milk out of a closed system like a console. Games can often be better optimized for consoles than they can for PCs, so I don't think anyone should underestimate what the PS4 and Xbox One are capable of. This obviously comes down to the developer though, and how much time they're willing to spend on console ports, but in theory consoles are capable of punching well above their weight, even if they don't quite match a good gaming PC. But anyway, let me throw the discussion out to you guys. Do you think the performance boost of a PC is really that much of a difference? And is it something that you'd pay extra for? Let me know what you think in the comment section below, and don't forget to check back in a few days when we discuss games and usability in part 2 of this video on console versus PC. As always, if you like what you see, please remember to like, comment and subscribe, and if you haven't already, please check out all my other Battlefield 4 videos. I've got them all linked in a playlist in the description below. But until next time, see you later and have a good one.